Hi YouTube, Darth here. I got in some more time with the community test environment this weekend and I wanted to talk about a few more changes that occurred this week. But first, I want to encourage you to play in the CTE if you have premium, as there are generally only 1 or 2 active servers at any given time. The more information DICE can get from the community, the better state Battlefield 4 is going to be. Alright, with that out of the way, I wanted to talk about some of the changes on the CTE this week. The first is something I've been waiting a long time for, and that's the change that's being made to the transparency of HUD elements when you're aiming down sights. What DICE has done is give players the option to control the transparency of the various HUD elements. The way it's currently set up, you can have a situation where enemies, friendlies, flags, and anything else can clutter up the visibility of your shot. A number of times, this has led to me missing a shot and even getting killed because I simply couldn't see an enemy with all the other garbage in the way. Now the new feature is in the CTE that lets you adjust the various transparencies of certain elements. After playing around with this feature for some time, I can tell you it can't get to live soon enough, but I would like to see a separate option for friendly soldiers. There were a few times that if I reduced the transparency enough, I'd have a hard time distinguishing my allies from my enemies. Another UI change that came this week was the addition of timers to the resurrection notification on allies. The developers have called this the triage system, and it lets you determine which soldier amongst the group to revive, or it allows you to determine how much time you have to charge a revive. Now I don't know if it was because I was on the CTE and if everybody wanted to simply see this in action, but I got more revives in the CTE games I played than I think I have in months. It was simply amazing. If this UI tweak causes this big of a behavior shift in players, I'll take the tweak for player changes alone. Now unfortunately the only servers that had any population available when I was playing this weekend were Conquest servers, so I can't give you a first-hand account of the rush and obliteration changes that have happened in the CTE this week. However, it looks like DICE is continuing to make good progress on the rush maps in the game, with further tweaks going into Zavad. Additionally, they've begun work on lockers and rogue transmissions, so it looks like they'll at least be addressing all the vanilla rush maps. Other than those changes, this week was the first time I dove into the upcoming Dragon's Teeth weapons, and I have to say that I had a real blast playing with them. Particularly the Bulldog and the MPX seem like they're going to be near best-in-class weapons. That's not to say that either is overpowered, but it's certainly a breath of fresh air to get a couple of weapons that we'll see people using a few months later. Other than the AWS, of course. Both the Bulldog and the MPX have great hip fire and time to kill, but I don't want to get too deeply into those weapons as we're not going to have access to them until Dragon's Teeth releases. And in the time between now and then, they could change significantly. So doing a full-fledged review on them seems a bit silly. But if you have access to the CTE, definitely go in and try them out, as they're definitely enjoyable. This last 2 weeks has seen a significant set of changes to the way pilots will be able to fly around in jets. First, and I believe I mentioned this last week, they've added a new stall mechanic to the flight ceiling. So if you're in a jet and you hit the ceiling, the plane will stall out and drop back into the flying area rather than floating at the top of the world like a dead fish in an aquarium. The other change to jets is the re-addition of the chase camera. This is a third-person camera, sorry hardcore players, that will show you the picture behind the jet. This is in addition to adding crosshairs to the front jet camera in order to allow players to more easily target enemies when flying in third person. This will be good news to ace jet pilots who can now remove those Sharpie marks from their monitors. Another small change made this week was a tweak to smoke grenades. DICE increased the speed with which the smoke appears and increased the volume of the smoke. While it's a good change, I don't think anybody is going to be giving up their RGO for a smoke grenade anytime soon. Finally, an ongoing change they're making is to the way that player models respond when they're hit by damage. This is often referred to as flinching, and it can cause player model and hitbox to violently overreact to bullets. This makes follow-up shots sometimes very difficult. DICE is working on toning down these animations, but it's an ongoing process, so the current in-game implementation is not final. Those are the changes for this week. Again, if you haven't had a chance to check out the CTE and you have premium, I highly encourage you to give it a shot. Thanks for watching YouTube. If you liked my video, please consider throwing it a like. If you're new to my channel, check out my channel page and subscribe for more Battlefield 4 videos. And I'll see you all next time.